Hey, welcome to this introductory video on using Tesseract and Pytesseract to extract text from an image. Let's dive in. Tesseract is a popular free open source engine which is used for optical character recognition, OCR for short. And Python Tesseract, or Pytesseract, is the wrapper which encapsulates and leverages the engine and enables us to use the language of Python with Tesseract. So here I am, scrolling through the documentation on PyPy, which is a repository and distribution service for Python packages. It's a handy place to start, and there are examples shown, which I'll be referring to later, and other information about the library. And here at the bottom, we can see the all-important installation section. Now, one of the many prerequisites is ensuring that your version of Python installed on your machine is above 3.6. Now, I used Linux Fedora, which by default comes with Python pre-installed, but you can check which version you're using on your Linux system by opening up the terminal and typing python space dash dash version. As you can see here, I've made a few mistakes before typing in the correct command, but that's all part of the process. So the next thing I want to do is install Tesseract. So I've gone in, clicked the documentation or the link to the documentation, and saw that it was available for Linux. Now, the documentation made reference to other Linux-based distributions, not Fedora. So here I am, just doing a quick search, seeing how I would do that. And here's an interesting article that I found on the Fedora project discussion page, where someone's referenced the commands I need to run in my terminal to get Tesseract installed. So here I am doing a search in Fedora's DNF package manager to see if Tesseract exists. And I can see it does exist, so I'm going ahead with the installation. So after the installation is complete, I've run a which Tesseract command in my terminal to output where Tesseract is installed, which is typically in the user bin directory. So now that our installations are complete, let's try get this working. So to help me get started, I've copied the example usage found in the documentation and pasted that into a Jupyter notebook. And here I am just double checking the path to where Tesseract is installed. And in my folder, I've included an image with text, which I'm hoping this script will be able to output. I think it's quickly worth noting that I initially had problems accessing Tesseract, and this was due to how I'd installed Visual Studio Code. If you haven't already, check out my video on how to install Visual Studio Code. So if we try to execute our code now, it will fail because we don't have Pytesseract installed. But before importing Pytesseract, I want to create a Python virtual environment which will contain all our Python packages and its dependencies. So to do that, I've opened up Visual Studio's command palette by clicking Ctrl-Shift-P and typing in environment. A dependency of a virtual environment is getting the IP kernel installed, which I'm doing now. The next thing you want to do is activate your virtual environment. And you can see here, I've briefly forgotten how to do that. But after a quick search, I found the command that I need to execute in my terminal, which is source followed by the path to the activation script, which typically lives in the virtual environment folder, followed by bin, and then the activate file. And the reason why it didn't initially work is because I forgot the full stop at the beginning of my virtual environment folder name. Our virtual environment is activated, as we can see in the beginning of our terminal. I then want to copy the command to install Pytesseract and paste that into my terminal. You can see here I'm just double checking where Tesseract lives and making sure that I've referenced the correct path. And that's done. You can see from the output that the script has successfully OCR'd the image, and outputted the extracted text as intended. You can see here I'm a bit confused about why Pytesseract has got a squiggly line underneath it even though I've installed it, but after closing and reopening, that seemed to have resolved it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one.